It's the end of an era as we say goodbye to the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Are rom-coms set for a triumphant return? Do horror trailers give just a little too much away? And with the return of Ke Huy Quan in Everything Everywhere All at Once, we ask ourselves, whatever happened to some other popular actors of a certain era? We're getting into all of it right now. Welcome to the madness. Hello, Morgan.
Hi, it's me.
Yes.
I'm here.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and Machine, which I can't help but do it like Monster Truck Rally. I'm sorry.
We don't host a monster truck rally, a really bad professional wrestling outlet, or some sort of what you want it to be is Monday, isn't it?
Yes,
That's what you want
exactly.
it to be.
I can't help. Our name just suggests Monster Truck Show. I don't know.
It doesn't though.
It does.
It doesn't at all. I don't know.
If you say it like that, it fits. Monday Madness.
It does fit. I'm not saying it doesn't fit. I'm just saying
totally
Monday
fits.
Madness has absolutely nothing to do with monster trucks in any way.
It does not.
Does
it? Does
it?
not.
Hello,
Well,
everyone.
Hello.
How are we all today? I'm good. I don't know. I'm hanging out. It's fun. It's the morning for me. I have some coffee. It's great.
Well, if it's the morning for you, then we know it's the evening for me.
We do. We do know that.
So we're a little opposite, but it's fine. But I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad today.
Sad? Well, that's understandable. I suppose, Jeannine. I suppose, Jeannine, now's about the right time for me to ceremoniously, is it a ceremonious thing that I do now? I don't even know. I did just want to just say it's episode 5 of Monday Madness, so that's a small milestone.
Yes,
Yay.
yes.
A tiny milestone.
We're chugging
but it's a
along.
milestone.
Episode 5. That's a good solid number. But before this show was Monday Madness. It was Machine Mondays.
It was, Jeannine. So I have to ask the question.
Yes.
Don't I? As I always do, because it's just a thing. Sup, Jeannine? Sup?
Quite a bit sup. It was recently announced that this will be the final season of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. A huge part of my life, of many people's lives, has built up an amazing community of people and has brought a lot to my life personally. So really tough to kind of face that this is kind of the end of this kind of huge part of my life, but bittersweet because it bred a lot of positive, great things. So yeah, just kind of trying to wrap my head around the idea that, I can just watch movies for entertainment value again.
The thing is, look, I know, like I shouldn't joke about it at the beginning of what are you gonna say about this happening. Because to be fair, since the beginning of the Schmoedown, which for those who may be not aware of what the Movie Trivia Schmoedown is, it is the most professionally produced movie trivia competition that you will ever come across. It was on YouTube. Well, I suppose we have to say now it lasted for around 9 years.
Yes.
It's coming to an end later on this year, and was a enormous part of people's lives. I mean, I saw the announcements on last Friday, and Saturday morning for me, I suppose it was, and was very, very sad to hear it. Understandable, because with a production of that level. It wasn't massively, backed with money. It had its sponsors and it had its production house. But the pandemic, like it did with so many things, unfortunately, ended up, hitting a huge dent into the
Into
Schmoedown
the
and its
momentum, yeah.
trajectory,
Mhm.
which
And
which is
wow,
very unfortunate. But
yes, and
while it is, look, it is very sad that it's coming to an end. I think all that we have to take away from it is look at the legacy it's leaving behind, and more importantly, everybody who was involved in the show, whether it is Christian Harloff, Mark Ellis, the creators of the show, every player, every person behind the scenes, every writer, yourself, myself as a fan who I think showed up on camera once in some sort of Schmoedown related thing. Everybody deserves huge credit and a massive amount of applause for not only delivering a product that, I know I'm being a bit like businessy with it, not only delivering the Schmoedown to an entertaining degree, but how it helped bring so many people together and help people find each other. It's helped couples blossom
yeah.
romantically.
Mhm.
It like it's helped so many people come out of bad times in their lives. It's helped so many people be brought together as friends and family, and those bonds are the Schmoedown's legacy, and those
Yes.
bonds will not be broken. Though we ourselves, Jeannine, would not be doing anywhere close to this sort of stuff. I would likely not have met you in person had
Yeah.
it not been for the Schmoedown, and we would not be doing all our shows we do now
Yes.
because of it.
And I mean, I've met people that I intend to know for the rest of my life because of the Schmoedown.
Exactly.
Um, you know, it so I think that is the best kind of consolation prize you can get out of something like this. I never won my belt, things like that are always gonna kind of hurt a
You
little
did.
bit, but
You did. You were the Black Cinema Champion,
I was. There was no
if I
belt for that
remember
though.
correctly.
There was no belt for that though, but,
It was a
I
championship, Ginny.
an exhibition championship.
It was a championship, Ginny.
Well, fair enough, fair enough. But, I made some moments that even surprised me, so I always kind of focused on making moments, and I think I was able to do that, and, uh, yeah, it's just still kind of a crazy thing to wrap your head around when you've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a little tough, but, I get it. That's just kinda how things work, and yeah, I don't intend to just kind of end relationships with everybody, so,
It would be
you
it
know
would be silly to do something like that. I
yeah.
think, the friendships that have blossomed through the Schmoedown, ours included, because I honestly think it kind of has. I think we were acquainted before the Schmoedown started, and then we actually
Yes.
became friends thanks to the Schmoedown.
Yes.
Um, we're not going anywhere, so why should anybody else and anybody
Exactly.
else's friendships go anywhere just because the thing that started those friendships has ended? Why
Yeah,
should why should that go anywhere? It doesn't. It would be foolish for
you
people
just have to
to
be a little bit more
cut
creative
ties.
to find reasons to get together, you know?
Absolutely, but it'd be worth it. But it'd be
Yes.
well worth it. Because you became, friends, and I became friends with, a certain bunch of people for a reason. Because I just became friends with them. We could talk about things that weren't just the movie Trivia Schmoedown,
Yes.
which if you were talking to someone about only the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, I can understand. But I think most everybody who is at least a somewhat core community member have developed far past simply just being Schmoedown
friends. Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's become so much bigger for so many people, and I think next week we're going to do a bit of a because it does mean a great deal to the both of us. Jeannine, obviously, probably more so, given the fact she actually worked and I just watched and supported. When I think next week we're going to do quite a larger. We're going to make the Schmoedown the let's talk aspect, I think, of next week.
I mean, and there's still a little bit more season to be had.
There
but,
is.
I don't know. I'm honestly at this point, I don't know where I factor into that at the moment. So, we'll see. But.
Well, we certainly will. We certainly will see. But it is very sad. We did want to talk about it. But just in a loving way, in a way that we don't want to focus on the sadness of it ending. We want to focus on on celebrating what it did, and what it has left, or what it will leave.
Definitely,
because it will leave so much more. I think it will leave something so much more significant than it had while it was going, because a legacy is more significant than a life, really. You think about it can become a thing of legend. Oh, do you remember that time in the 2010s?
Yes.
The Movie Trivia Schmoedown.
We were really lucky to share this and to be in this tight-knit group of people who just get it. So
yes, we were. We are, and we will remain.
Yes.
He who remains. Where's that from? Loki. That's what's his face's name, isn't it? Yes. Sometimes things just come into my head and I don't
pop into your brain.
I don't really know why.
Yes.
I don't really know why. But yes, Jeannine, the Schmoedown ending is very, very sad. But there are things that might be beginning again. By the sounds of it.
Yes. So, I mean, I think rom-coms had kind of faded off a little bit. They've gradually kind of been trying to make a return. I know J.Lo had her movie Marry Me come out, but it didn't do very well. Sandra Bullock had her The Lost City. I would consider that like a rom-com that I think Sandra Bullock is kind of one of the only people who can do a movie that's very similar to movies she did like 15, 20 years ago. And it doesn't feel tired, it still works. Because, like, I watched The Lost City, and it definitely feels like a movie you would have seen from her, like, 20 years ago, and it still felt really fun and silly. So, I'm always gonna be a fan of a good rom-com, and we recently
You
had a
are.
trailer.
Isn't
Yes.
that something you are also a Schmoedown champion of?
I am. Yes, I did win that match, I believe.
So, in other words, Jeannine, shut up saying you haven't won anything in the Schmoedown, because we've now established you are actually the champion of 2 specific things. Okay, maybe it's not the singles championship, but it's still more than most people.
Oh, I'm the final girls champion as well.
And the final, see? So, you can shut up.
Yeah. They don't count. But anyway,
They don't count.
we just recently got a trailer with 2 kind of veteran rom-com actors, Julia Roberts and George Clooney, in a movie called Ticket to Paradise, where 2 divorced parents go to a tropical location where their daughter is living to kind of talk her out of, marrying young and giving up her career. And so it's kind of them plotting to stop this wedding, while I'm sure rediscovering some kind of love for each other,
Obviously.
as it goes, as it goes. So of course we've seen these actors work together before in Ocean's films, and they have pretty good chemistry. So it's kind of fun to see them in the vein of parents. It's kind of like an opposite, maybe like, Parent Trap style, where the kids are kind of trying to do some meddling thing, where now it's the parents, like the ex-parents, trying to meddle in their daughters' kinds of affairs and be sneaky about stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it looks fun. It looks very kind of predictable, but that's kind of what you expect from a rom-com. So it definitely feels like, again, like I talked about Sandra Bullock, it definitely harkens back to the original era of the rom-com and what those movies kind of gave us. Uh, so what are your thoughts on the
I
return of the 90s 2000s style rom-com?
I just like how you say the original era of the rom-com when you actually mean the Jeannine era of the rom-com. You know, how in what universe is this the original era of the rom-com anyway?
I mean, it was just kind of the booming time of the rom-com,
Yes, I
and the
understand.
rom-coms of that time are very distinct, have a very distinct
Yes, they
style,
are. Yes, they are. And a lot of them star Julia Roberts and or George Clooney. Which neither of them has aged in 20 years
No,
apparently
they look
either,
great.
so
They look really good.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually saw either of them in a movie that I
Yeah, I
went
mean, George
watching, to be
Clooney
honest.
hasn't done anything in a while, like, he married his beautiful lawyer wife and has just kind
Yes.
of been, and I think he has, his own alcohol, it's tequila or some shit, I don't
Clooney
know.
Tequila. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
he has some
Does
booze
he
and,
actually? I didn't know that.
has his, villa on Lake Como and does all his, whatever. So we haven't seen him in a minute, but she's done like TV. She's done like, I think, some like Amazon series and things like that. So
Oh, of course she has, yeah. I
yeah,
have seen her
yeah.
on Amazon, actually.
So she's
Um,
been doing some things, but yeah, just kind of interesting to see this style of film kind of trying to make this little comeback. Do you
I
think this
think it's
movie
important.
could get it done? Could make it happen?
Yeah, I think it's important to the mid-budget rom-com.
Yeah.
The mid-budget rom-com is an entity, I suppose, that allows for creativity in theatrical movie releases because we're not just getting tiny low budget horror movies or MCU movies. You're actually getting something in between,
Yeah.
which is this kind of movie.
And it's a nice little
Mid-budget
break. Yeah,
comedies.
and it's a nice little break from the legacy sequel or
The legacy sequels,
the 3rd or
yes.
4th movie in a franchise or, the remake,
I'm looking, looking through the kind of movies that I've gone to see at the cinema in the past, kind of, I suppose, since cinemas opened back up after, after the real high point of COVID, once things started to open back up properly.
Yeah.
Um, the vast majority of what I've gone to the cinema to watch has been, sequels of major things or little horror movies.
Yeah.
I've not really been to. I mean, strangely enough, I think probably the closest one that I've been watching more recently, although around Oscar time I did go and watch a couple. Um, but is actually the movie we're going to be talking about very shortly, which is probably the most mid. I suppose it's mid budget, isn't it? Although it's maybe slightly lower because it's an A24 movie. I think if I remember rightly, the movie we're going to be talking about, Everything Everywhere All at Once, is about 25 million budget,
Yeah.
something like that. So it's not high, really, but it's not, 10 million.
Yeah. It's not like a
Um,
Blumhouse
no.
horror movie.
But it's weird to think that a movie, a rom-com like this, with such veteran rom-com actors as you put them, which they are, is refreshing. But it does feel refreshing.
Yeah, because it feels like you haven't seen a movie like that in a long time.
It definitely does feel refreshing, and I welcome more movies like that, even though they are, you know, you might consider them paint by numbers, you might consider them, you know what you're gonna get, but sometimes that's a very satisfying movie watching experience, to go
Yeah,
in knowing you're gonna enjoy yourself, knowing you're gonna leave with a smile on your face, and just enjoying watching pretty people act together. That was
yes.
basically the whole idea of old Hollywood. Put these lovely
Pretty
looking
people.
people in a
Ex
movie together and people will flock to the screen.
exactly.
And that
Well,
is the
like
attitude here.
well, yeah, like, I saw the trailers for The Lost City, and it looked very much like, your predictable rom-com, kind of a mix of things like a Romancing the Stone and stuff like that, and I thought, "Oh, I don't know, will a movie like this work for me today?" Um, and I still had a blast with it. I thought it was funny. I thought, beautiful people again, Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, and these exotic settings and a fun little story, and yeah, so it still worked for me, and it was kind of, yes, a break from what we've kind of been getting a lot of. Uh, so yeah, I definitely think these movies are primed to make a little comeback, and I think this movie looks like a pretty good start to that. So
I like them getting theatrical releases as well, because the stuff that you do get that is like this, because the type of movie hasn't really gone anywhere to a point, but there are always streaming movies
yeah,
that come and go with virtually no fanfare. And they're just like, oh, look at this movie that's streaming now. And then 2 weeks after, it's like totally forgotten about again. Because you never have a marketing campaign for a streaming movie, really, unless it's
no,
massive,
not really.
you know? It's always just like, oh, it's shown up on Netflix. That's fun. What the hell's this? This looks like a somewhat significant movie. Why have I heard nothing about it?
Yeah, like you see these
Which
big
is,
names in it, and you're
yeah,
like, yeah,
it feels like this would be that. But I like that it's been theatrical released, because that's important too. I mean, I know streaming is good and streaming means we don't have to leave the house, which sometimes is nice, and streaming is um convenient.
convenient. Yeah,
Streaming is all in one place. Look at all this stuff you have,
you don't have to
you
put
know.
pants on. It's nice.
Exactly. But the cinema is a wonderful thing, and we must support going to the cinema. This is the
Yes.
same reason we must support collecting physical media, which is why I've got a massive shelf over there. You know,
Yes.
it's it's important to do that, because if we just focus on streaming, we're just going to end up with very samey things to watch, and it just becomes less interesting. And we do not get movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once if we could just focus on streaming, because businesses like that, as successful as they may seem to a point, look at the Schmoedown, as successful as that seemed 3 years ago, something can happen,
Yeah, it's
and
true.
it can quickly end up
Shift.
not
Yeah.
not not being
Not
feasible
being
to be a
as
thing anymore.
viable. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Um, so
Trends
you've
shift
got
and
to do that.
change, and yeah, so I think, when we're in a time of film where we're getting kind of a lot of the same, bringing back something, that was big in its time,
And we
kind of
like that. We
it
like those
makes it
movies, we
kind of, it feels
do.
familiar, but it also feels new again amongst kind of the sea of the same style of thing that we're getting right now. So
And what we don't mind is when a legacy sequel is like Top Gun Maverick as opposed to Jurassic World.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing legacy sequels, which you are doing, which you're constantly doing, which you're going to keep doing, at least make them like Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
And not like Jurassic World.
Yeah.
You know?
You kind of
Do
stick
that
to
with them.
you stick to the style of the original. You also kind of interject some fresh things into it. You are not heavy-handed with your references. You just kind of pepper them in there naturally so that
Yeah.
when we stumble upon it, we're just like excited about it and it doesn't feel like you're just throwing things in there just to be like wank wank wank. So yes, legacy sequels are kind of the norm right now. So to kind of throw something that was booming at a certain period of time and bringing that into today and kind of keeping it very similar to what it was back then feels fresh. So,
But
yeah,
then
I'm
again,
excited to see, how this movie does and
is
yeah.
Ticket to Paradise not just a legacy sequel of its own? Because you've got these two in a rom-com 20 years after they probably should have been in a rom-com.
Yeah, I mean, essentially. They could
It's
probably still be
bringing
one of the
back,
same characters.
but it's at least something that is a little bit different and is just easy. You don't have to think. You won't have to think too hard about Ticket to Paradise.
Yeah.
Just like you have to, nobody's gonna gatekeep Ticket to Paradise,
No.
like they will some sort of major franchise. Like, oh, did you notice this? Oh, well, you're not a true fan if you didn't notice this. And like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Shut up. Let me enjoy the movie. And I think this
Exactly. That's a good
definitely does
point.
look
That's
like
definitely a good point.
it does look like quite an enjoyable movie, to be honest.
Yes. Well,
Um,
that
yeah.
was not the only trailer that I watched. I
It was
saw a
the only
trailer.
trailer that I watched
Yes.
because
Well, because
Jeannine told me about something.
I gave you a very fair warning. I get emails from like Sony, for like upcoming releases and stuff like that. And so they were like, "Oh, the invitation." And it looked kind of spooky. So I clicked on the trailer and watched it. And this trailer gave away like the whole plot of this movie.
Well, the point of this movie, Jeannine, is not the fact it's called The Invitation or even the trailer that gave away the entire movie. The point of our discussing this movie is the fact that I'm definitely going to go and see this movie for one reason and one reason only.
Yes, yes. Who
What's that,
stars in this
Jeannine?
movie? Who stars in this movie, Morgan?
I want you to tell me, Jeannine.
Oh, your girlfriend from Game of Thrones.
I significantly wish this was the case. We what did we speak about last week? During our Thor Ragnarok watch along of how
Yes.
much I just adore Tessa
You would
Thompson.
drop to your knees for Tessa Thompson in a suit.
If there is someone else I would do that exact same thing for, it is Natalie Emmanuel.
Yes. So,
Yes,
I
who is
mean,
in this movie.
generally, like, not to give anything away like the trailer does, um, it's a girl, she's playing an American who's gonna go to the
Which I
UK.
don't particularly like, to be
But she's
honest.
going
Why
to
is
the
she doing
UK.
that?
Yeah, so I guess maybe her mother had recently died, so she kind of, her mother told her, "Oh yeah, I had family in the UK and Europe," and so her mom dies, and she's kind of talking to her friend. Said, "My mom always wanted to take me back there. I kind of want to discover, my roots and things." So she does a DNA kind of, you know, 23andMe type test, sends it in, and the results come back that say she has a cousin. So she goes to meet with this cousin, and he tells her, "Oh, well, you know what? We're having a big family wedding back in Europe. You should come to this wedding and meet everybody. Everyone would be so excited to meet you." So kind of on this whim, she decides to go to this wedding, and then things, gradually start getting more and more creepy, and you know exactly what creepy thing is happening. You know what's kind of going on with these people because the whole trailer kind of just gives away what the big kind of horror twist of this family and these people are. So if you don't want to
I
know
don't
anything
like
about
that.
The Invitation, do not watch this trailer.
I'll go. I will look. I will 100% go and see this movie because if she's in a lead role and she's getting lead roles in movies now, this
Yeah.
is something I would like to very much support
Yeah.
and want to see more of because I think she's genuinely quite great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think she's a very good actor. I just think
Yeah.
sometimes because she's possibly most known in movies for Fast and Furious, she's not actually been able to act because nobody really acts in the
And
Fast and
yeah, you don't
Furious
really need to
movies.
do much to get by in those movies.
Um,
But yeah, like even kind of seeing how much that trailer gave away, I'm still kind of like, it looks like a fun horror movie. So, you know.
yeah, I'm always down. I'm always down for fun
But
horror
yes,
movies, as you well know, Jeannine.
it seems to be like horror trailers in particular are very egregious in giving things away.
I never watch horror as much as I can avoid them. I really don't tend to watch horror
Yeah.
trailers, and obviously I watch horror movies. I watch quite a lot of new horror releases, but I don't watch the trailers because they generally are
Well, I think they need to
not
take a
well
note.
done.
They need to take a note from Jordan Peele because Nope definitely doesn't give a lot away in his trailer. It gives enough that you kind of get.
But does it not though? Because
I
I
don't
would
think
almost
so.
prefer to
To know
know
nothing.
that there wasn't some sort of UFO. You know what I mean?
Right, mhm.
Because that's very obviously from the Nope trailer. What's going on? I mean, that trailer has a UFO hurtling towards the screen at one point.
Fair enough. But I mean, the
But
poster has like a thing in the sky, so you kind of already know.
I didn't know it might. It might have
And
been a
I've
falling
had,
demon for all I knew, Jeannine.
well, technically, I've heard from people say that Nope actually stands for not of planet Earth. So
Oh,
there you
that's
go,
quite
right there
clever. I
in the
like that.
title. Yeah. But yes, I mean, in terms of horror trailers, I think that one it gives you enough, but it doesn't really tell you any serious plot, anything. So
No, and I can only imagine that some sort of alien creature will show up, and the fact we don't know what that may be or what that may look like, yes, it is nice. But I still actually do think that even that gives too much away.
well, definitely in after seeing a trailer like that and seeing the Invitation trailer, it's
Yeah, okay.
definitely 10 times better than that
Fair enough.
Invitation trailer
I am not
in terms of
watching this invitation trailer.
yeah, in terms of what it gives away. Um, but yes, leading into um our major kind of thing we're talking about in this beginning part of the show. You
Yeah,
finally watched
finally.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Now, I'd like to just say I finally watched it because it hasn't been in the UK for that long, and is in fact only showing in one cinema in the entire city of Manchester, which is a small cinema, which I love going to, and is one of my favourite little places in the city centre. But I did finally manage to go and watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it floored me to my knees, Jeannine. If there's something else I get on my knees for, it's Tessa Thompson, Natalie Emmanuel, and this movie.
Oh my goodness. Well, like typically if I ask you what you think of a movie, it's literally like maybe 2 sentences. You wrote me a whole ass uh, you know, Roger Ebert length
I
article
did not.
review.
I
You
did not
did.
do that.
You
That's
wrote me
extreme, Jeannine.
you wrote me like 4 thick ass paragraphs of thoughts on this
I
movie.
apologize for having
You don't need to
thoughts.
apologize. I'm excited that you like verbalize so much because yeah, I'll ask you, "Oh, did you like that movie?" "Oh, yes, it was funny. Silly thing happened there." And that's like it. But this
That's
you went
because
on a whole
that says something, though, doesn't it? That says something. That says that most movies you enjoy, but they don't move you as movies should move you.
Yes.
And this movie did.
And
This
it
movie did
managed
more than
to,
just allow me to enjoy it.
yes, it hit this crazy, insane balance of chaos and groundedness. Like, it was very odd that it was able to give you these really kind of simple moments and relationships and stories with all this chaos going on, and you were still able to kind of follow everything.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the words that are going to come out of my mouth over the next 10, 15 minutes while we talk about this movie may not make a great deal of sense, but I will try. I will try because it is one of the most chaotic movies I've ever watched, but one of the most precise
Yes.
because it is so precise. It is so, everything is exactly where it should be. There's nothing missed out. There's nothing that feels overdone. There's nothing that feels underdone. Everything's flying around everywhere all at once, but you're never confused. You are
Yeah.
always entirely sure where you are, what version of characters you're seeing, and what world you are in at that point in the movie. And do you know what this movie does? Which, God damn it, I wish more movies would do this to represent a change in world or a change in tone or a change in location or something like that. Aspect ratio changes.
Yeah.
The movie's full of aspect ratio changes.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't consciously notice sometimes. But when you do, you can't look away from, and you know exactly where you are, just because sometimes the movie's in 4:3 aspect ratio, sometimes the movie's in 16:9 aspect ratio, and sometimes it's in more of a widescreen, slightly letterboxed way.
Yeah.
To determine which kind of world you're in,
kind of place you're in. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so clever. It's so simple and it's so clever. You get tiny little acting quirks from Michelle. I mean, Michelle Yeoh's just unbelievable. Michelle Yeoh's great in virtually most things you've seen her in. But I can't remember. I've not seen her give a better performance than she gives in this.
Yeah.
And Ke Huy Quan, who's just come back out of nowhere, as we like to
his story is just so his story just resonates so much, like, with me. Like, I'm so happy for him. I'm so excited for him because, I find a way to pepper in some conversation about representation in film in every show we do.
And why not?
And representation in film is what made him feel like he could do this again.
Yeah.
He did 2 huge movies with huge directors, huge actors, had this big kind of moment for him. And then as he got older, they weren't casting Asian actors and he couldn't get any roles and he couldn't do things, be the leading man in anything. And it wasn't until Crazy Rich Asians came out that he was so jealous. He was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. This is, maybe this is my time to come back. And that was kind of his kickoff after seeing Crazy Rich Asians to call his friend, hey, can you be my agent and get me back out there? And then he got this part, and just such an amazing story for him that it wasn't until this big boom of representation that really kind of set things back in motion for him, because he was doing things behind the scenes, but he just didn't feel like there was a place for him in Hollywood anymore until he saw that big massive representation in Crazy Rich Asians. So
please tell me Michelle Yeoh was in Crazy Rich Asians. I'm not misremembering.
Yes, well, we saw that movie together when you were in LA.
That's true. I do remember seeing that in
yes.
LA.
She is the disapproving mother.
I
She is the
thought she was. I thought she
she is
was, yeah.
she is the Alfre Woodard of that movie.
She's the Asian Alfre Woodard. No, she's not.
Essentially, in in
Um,
in in terms of, the character she's playing in that movie.
Alfre Woodard wishes she was Michelle Yeoh. Alfre Woodard wishes she could do the level of martial arts
She could
action that
play
Michelle
she could
Yeoh
play
could.
somebody else's mother other than Sanaa Lathan's.
Well, that's
Um
also that's also true. Oh, wait, Alfre Woodard's on the phone. Oh, I'd love to do this, but who's playing my daughter?
It's not
Wait,
Sanaa
it's
Lathan,
not
I'm
Sanaa.
out.
I can't do the
I
movie. I
can't do it.
can't do the movie. I'm sorry. I'll have to do something else.
Yeah.
I thought Michelle Yeoh was, and Crazy Rich Asians was a fun movie. Not usually the kind of movie I love because it's absurdly soap opera, but and kind of
That
overly
is like
dramatic, and
yes, that is my comfort movie. Like, if I'm just, doing
it's very good.
work or cleaning or just laying in bed, watching stuff on my phone and I just want extra kind of noise, I always put on Crazy Rich Asians, and then I end up kind of stopping what I'm doing and just watching it no matter what. Um, yeah.
But yeah, this look,
That movie just,
everything
like, kinda
everywhere.
meant something to him, and, I think that's how movies have been for a lot of people, like, so many, Black people coming out and seeing Black Panther and having that be a significant thing for them. Like, I can picture that happening to him in seeing that movie and it just being this click for him that maybe it's my time to come back and look what he was able to do. Like,
Exactly,
he was so
exactly.
good in this movie.
He's unbelievable in this for
Yeah,
someone that's been truly disappeared for so
yeah.
long. He's unbelievable in this movie. I mean, the one thing I will say is that why does he still sound like a
He
child?
sounds the same,
Why
yeah,
has his
his
voice
voice
not changed at all?
his voice is exactly the same,
Which is
but
just
he's
weird, but that's just a person thing. That's not like a problem. It's just
acting thing, yeah, it's just
why has
why
your
did his
voice not
voice kinda stay the
broken,
same?
Ke Huy Quan?
Yes, but, like, yeah, he's playing kind of this silly, nervous husband who's just always trying to be positive and always trying to see the upside of things and putting his googly eyes on everything, and you know then he's playing this kind of action hero and then he's playing kind
Right,
of this
exactly.
suave debonair guy. Like,
This
he
is
hit every multiversal version of himself so well and so different and distinct, and you know
he
just
really
so
did, and
excited for him to get to show what he could do you know
well, both of them. I mean, we know obviously more that Michelle Yeoh has this has this quality of acting about her. So it is more impressive to see it from Ke Huy Quan, simply because we were not aware that he could come back and give this level of performance. But the both of them are so distinct in each of their personalities in this movie, whether they're playing hilariously fumbly, ridiculously heroic, or you know, melodramatically romantic in that one particular scene
yeah.
that's played outside that movie premiere where they
Yes.
are. I mean, that looks like some sort of noir movie from the 40s
Yes,
with Ke
and, like,
Huy Quan in that
she's kinda
tuxedo
playing
smoking, and he's just
yes, leaned up
it's
against the wall, yeah.
it's beautiful, but they are it's a showcase for them, and they both of them deliver unbelievably.
But even the
But
actress who plays the daughter, Stephanie
exactly,
Hsu from, The
she's
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
yes, she's incredible. I mean, this is a massive breakout for her.
yeah.
A massive breakout for her. And I knew I'd seen her somewhere before, Jeannine. I knew I
Yes,
had.
she's
And thank you
May.
for telling me
Yeah, she's
where.
May in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Um, but yeah, like and just the kind of mother-daughter story that they're telling here, and this husband and wife story, and this family story, and not living up to your potential and kind of giving up on yourself and settling and kind of dreaming about other ways your life could have gone with just one decision, and you know just
Look,
so many like everything everywhere all at once.
Oh,
Like
exactly. There are
so many things
movies.
to think about and consider and avenues to take, and yet it all lines up and it all, you don't get lost in it. I
You
mean,
don't. There are movies that are perfect representations of kind of small aspects of life, right? In any genre.
yeah,
You look at a horror movie and you look at, say, someone's descent into madness or a family's breakdown or something like that. That's one aspect of life that a horror movie, can display perfectly and
yeah,
be, therefore, you consider it a perfectly told movie in that sense. This movie's about such abstract concepts, love and family and doubt and what could have been and acceptance and these huge human emotions
yeah,
like this, yet finds a way to be so meaningful about them, so precise about them, and explores them in just a way you're sat there going, wow, this means something. What
something,
this movie's
yeah,
doing means something. This movie is aggressively entertaining. It's all over the place. It's chaotic to a ridiculous degree, but it's so thoughtful and meaningful and impactful emotionally to you watching it, or it was to me watching it. And I am neither a mother nor a daughter, and that's kind of the central emotional core of the movie.
yeah,
But it's so unbelievably emotional in that tiny little human sense, which is surrounded by all of this mania going
yeah.
on in the
You're
rest of
telling
in
a
the actual
very
story of the
Yeah, you're
movie.
telling a very simple, straightforward story, but you're surrounding it with chaos, and somehow that works, and you're still able to focus on this small story.
I mean, the fighting in this movie, the martial arts is just incredible. The choreography of the fight scenes is unbelievable. It's hilarious at
Yeah.
times. There's really ridiculous things that happen, but
Well, I remember
like
before
absurdly, comedically
before
ridiculous things.
before the thing with the award, like, I literally before that even happened, when they're talking to Jamie Lee Curtis about their taxes and I see this award behind her, I'm like, "Why does that award look like a oh, it's
Yes.
like a burp." Like, I literally saw it and thought that, and then when it came up later as an actual thing, which you can actually buy candles of that
Well, it
on
makes
on
sense
the
to me now.
A24 website. You can also buy
Brilliant.
those hot dog fingers
I
for
don't want
20
the hot dog
on the
fingers. They freaked me the hell out. It was
you
hilarious.
can buy googly eyes.
The googly eyes I will take,
I
but
don't know if you could buy a raccoonie.
it now it now finally makes sense to me why I've been seeing all these Instagram pictures of Jamie Lee Curtis holding this oddly shaped award. I was like,
Yes.
what the hell is that?
Yeah,
Where's
it's
she got
her
this award
Accountant of the
from?
Year
And
award,
it's
but
actually from this movie.
yes, it looks like a burp. Yeah.
And Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't think I've ever seen Jamie Lee Curtis look as much like a battle axe as she does in
Yeah,
this movie. She looks like such a horrible person
she
in
does.
this movie. She's dressed just
Awful.
horrendously.
Yeah.
And
And that haircut, oh my.
it's awful, but maybe I mean, this speaks to costuming and performance, and we know Jamie Lee's great, but and we know Jamie Lee has range herself
Yeah,
to
she's
play
great.
many different things, and I just think this movie was something ridiculously different for her as well
Yeah.
in performance, and she was able to do different things. In this movie, she was able to play really sweet and quiet and romantic in the one hot dog finger universe, but then
She's doing everything
just
with her feet, yeah.
loud and horrible in the actual universe, and then kind of evil and Terminator like in the alpha universe.
Yeah.
It was hilarious and just genius to watch. And I can't remember seeing, I've sat on this movie for a few days now, a couple of days now. And I can't actually remember seeing a new release movie that I enjoyed this much and that I think is this genuinely great and seminal as a movie for a long many years.
Yeah.
This movie, out of every movie that I've seen in the past, I don't know, 6, 7 years, this movie is the one that I want to still be being talked about in 50 years.
Yes, I
In
literally
70
haven't seen
years.
it. I haven't seen it since theaters, like, a couple months ago now, and I still can picture things and remember things, and I thought, "Oh, should I watch it again before we talk about it?" But no, it was still pretty kind of fresh in my mind because it was doing so many cool, unique things and beautiful things to look at. It looked great. It had great comedy, great emotional beats. Um, it had
Technically, it's
everything.
just
Yes.
perfect as well.
It's just crazy to me that it's like this bonkers story, but somehow it's still all translated. You didn't get confused. Everything made sense. You knew where you were. You knew what was happening. You were able to hold on to the emotional, deeper stories that were happening underneath the chaos while also kind of enjoying the chaos at the same time. Like how they were able to juggle and balance everything so seamlessly is just awe inspiring. Like it's so surprising me how they were able to do that.
Just poetically put together
Yes.
in perfect ways.
Yes.
Like I said, just if there is no justice in the world if this movie doesn't virtually win all the awards.
Yeah, it needs to get something.
I do not care what Oscar bait movie comes out in November, December. I don't care. It ain't gonna be better than this. It might be more dramatic and it might tell a historically relevant story. It might even have some, harsh social commentary, sure. But will it be better than this as a
Yes.
movie?
The creativity and the storytelling and, making all these insane things happen while also telling a story that people can relate to.
And
What other movie is doing anything like this?
if it doesn't win awards, then awards truly mean nothing anymore. Truly. I mean, we've thought that for a few years now, really.
Yeah.
Major Hollywood awards. But if you are not verbally awarding, physically awarding your honest to God most creative movie I have seen in years and years and years, then what are you doing? Because this movie is the definition of what movie making should be. Exploring new creative ways of doing things, telling meaningful stories in creative ways, in unique ways, and in ways that honestly nobody has done this kind of thing before.
Yeah.
This movie is 100% unique. It might homage old Asian cinema at times with its martial arts,
Or
with
Pixar
its
movies.
or even Pixar movies. Even with a ridiculous Ratatouille situation with a raccoon. It might do that, but I haven't seen a movie as uniquely creative, both story-wise and actually technically wise, the way it's put together.
Yeah.
For a very, very, very long time. And I cannot speak highly of this. I came home and immediately told the rest of my family to just I know it's only showing in this one cinema,
But please
but
go
make
watch
the
it.
trip.
Yeah.
Make the journey to go. It's not a journey, but the fact it's not showing in the local cinema means people are just like, oh well, do we have to go? But yes, please do.
Go. Yeah.
Please do go. It's just it floored me. I couldn't really speak. I just had to sit there and go. And you know what I like as well? How it faked out the end halfway through the movie.
Yes.
Completely faked it out. I love it.
Yes.
To the point where somebody in the screening actually started to get up and
up and
leave.
go.
Just like, oh, well, this would put the coat back on. Like, no, sit down.
There's more. There's more. Yeah.
Sit
Can you
down.
imagine if they just left? Like, thought, oh, okay, that's it.
Left, went
Great.
home, wrote their review, and be like, this was really sad. This ended in such a
Dude,
depressingly
dude, you
way.
just missed the
Like,
whole last half of the
yeah,
movie.
you've missed an hour of the movie.
What?
Come back.
Yeah.
Come back. But oh my god. I can't speak highly enough of it. I really, really can't.
Well, seeing the return of Ke Huy Quan in this movie had us thinking about other actors who had these kinds of big booms in their career, were fairly everywhere at a certain period of time, and then
All at once.
yes. And then they kind of just fell off. And, I want to preface this by saying we're not kind of saying these actors are has-beens or that, they're not doing anything anymore. They could have, gone to more behind the scenes work or just, done streaming movies or straight to video movies or done TV. So yes, their IMDb's are still going, but they definitely aren't in the spotlight as much as they were in a certain period of time. To have you ask the question, what happened? Where did they go?
Where have you been? Is our let's talk discussion question for today. Where have you been? Jeannine, I mean, I have certainly one of my choices. I think we both have two people we want to talk about.
I have two actors, you have two actresses.
That is very true. One of my people truly hasn't been anywhere since they stopped making movies, but that's for that particular reason. I genuinely do not believe they have done a single thing since, or a single thing of any real note since they actually stopped being a thing. But that is that's a somewhat sad story for one of my people, I suppose. Jeannine, I mean, I know this. We're not talking about particular movies in this discussion. It is more.
We might bring up a few things.
We will bring up.
Yes, generally about this actor and kind of their era of time where they were kind of big and,
We are simply posing the question: where have they been? What happened? Why are they not what they were? Because ultimately, I think it has to be said is we enjoy the four performers we're talking about. So this isn't a case of I'm glad you left. This is a come back.
Yeah, do more things. We liked that little moment of time where you were kind of doing your thing,
Jeannine, would you like to open up the discussion with one of yours?
Sure. So one of my actors is Orlando Jones.
Jeannine, where has Orlando Jones been?
I mean, so kind of in looking in later in his career, he was on that show American Gods and he got fired for some reason, but there's some dispute as to why he got fired. So yeah, he's just kind of been doing TV and like smaller movies, but from like 1999 to like 2003, he was kind of all over the place and everything.
Is he in Everything Everywhere
all at once?
Sorry.
Yes. How many times are you gonna
Every time anybody says everything or everywhere, you just have to say the rest of it.
Yes. Most notable things that he was in that era of time was Drumline and Evolution. He's working with Ivan Reitman and David Duchovny and Ted Levine in movies like that, and Drumline, kind of a very popular black
Drumline.
yes. And he's kind of showing different sides. So it's not like a situation where he could only do one thing.
You know what Orlando Jones was also in? I'm sorry to interrupt. You know what he was also in? He was in the remake of Beyond a Reasonable Doubt that we did as a deja vu on the main show when we covered Fritz Lang's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt from 1953.
He had small parts in Office Space and Magnolia. He was in The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. So it's not like he, yes, he was doing kind of a bit like over the top kind of silly comedy, but you watch him in Drumline, he's very kind of serious and stern and, giving
Wearing
a
a
bit.
lovely turtleneck.
Yes, yes, giving a bit more of a kind of dramatic performance and a serious performance. So it's not like, okay, he's pigeonholed as this kind of over the top comedian. There's not really a market for that anymore. So no more roles for Orlando Jones because we've seen him do more than that.
Yeah, it kind
So
of you feel almost like it developed into a Kevin Hart style of over the top loud
yeah.
comedy.
And even like, Kevin Hart like kind of had that time of saturating the
Yeah,
market where
and
he was doing
he ain't doing much
everything.
now.
Yeah, so he's kind of on the Orlando Jones track at the moment.
Who
But
is our next very loud
like a
why
black comedian
do we
guy.
have to
I
have
don't know.
very loud black comedic actors? I mean, I
Well, I
suppose
mean,
Orlando Jones is more of an actor than Kevin Hart is. Kevin Hart is literally just a loud man.
it's similar to I guess Chris Tucker as well. Like he
That's true.
disappeared
Yeah,
for a long time and then he was loud comedian, big franchise everywhere, and then we
yeah,
didn't
it's
see
true.
him and then he popped up again in Silver Linings Playbook and then even after that we still kind of didn't see him for a while. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I guess that's just kind of a thing, like that kind of vein of the movies that he was maybe doing because he was mostly kind of just doing these uh over the top kind of comedies. So maybe there just wasn't kind of a market for that and he just kind of did other things. But yeah, like I've seen him be serious and things. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird and I was, you know, I kind of had the urge to watch Evolution and because we had talked about it when we were talking about monster movies, and I had mentioned that was one of my kind of favorite monster movies. Ivan Reitman, kind of the alien version of Ghostbusters, and that had me
yeah.
thinking about that movie and just kind of like, what happened to Orlando Jones? So yeah, like I've seen just kind of his recent credits are just kind of smaller TV things, but yeah, just he had this kind of boom of time in like 1999 to like 2003, and then we didn't really see much of him after that.
Well, I hope Orlando Jones is happy doing what he's doing because he has continued working.
Yeah,
But like you say, it's just on a little bit of a smaller scale. So maybe that's just what he wanted to do.
maybe.
Or maybe it is what he was unfortunately almost forced into doing because
Yeah,
he wasn't able to get big movies.
yeah.
But I would certainly like to see him in
He
big
was
movies
great. I
because
think he's hilarious. Like
but he
and
can
recently,
play dramatic acting as well. He can really
yes,
do that.
yes, and but like he's like my favorite part of Evolution. Like he has me
Yeah.
cracking up every time I watch that movie. So
Mm.
yeah, we
You could
we
also ask the question about David Duchovny in Evolution,
and Sean William
where
Scott, like all three of them.
well, yeah, I mean, every cast member in that movie, apart from Julianne Moore, I
More,
suppose,
yeah.
you could ask the same question
Like,
about
Where'd you go? Yeah,
because
what'd you do?
literally at one point David Duchovny was everywhere, mainly because of X-Files, but kind of was huge.
Yeah, I mean, he did go the TV route as well. He did that show Californication in on HBO for a while, but then kind of after that, didn't really see much of him. So I don't know.
Hmm. It's interesting. It's always interesting to think about. Orlando Jones, come back to big movies.
Yeah.
We want to see you. You're great. And now for the people watching on YouTube, hi, I love you dearly. You're great. Hello. And the audio people can't see me do this. So it's going to be a treat for the people who do watch on
Oh,
YouTube. Jeannine,
okay.
I'm going to do my Nick Cannon impression from Drumline.
Oh my gosh.
Did
Okay, all right.
you enjoy my impression of Nick Cannon from
Yeah,
Drumline?
that was great.
The
That
audio
was
people are
wonderful.
very confused,
Yes.
as they should be. Go to this
That's
time
pretty
of the
accurate.
episode on YouTube, and you'll be able to see my Nick.
Yes.
What? Just over an hour. just over an
Yes.
hour into the show on YouTube, my Nick Cannon impression will delight the public and earn me a lot of money.
Yes, that was pretty accurate, spot on. Very,
Thank
very
you.
good. So,
Thank you very much.
Morgan,
Yes.
who was one of your where did they go? What happened to dot dot dot?
Well, Jeannine, I would like to talk about Geena Davis.
Okay.
Because Geena Davis was massive at one point. She was in great, great movies, all kinds of genres. She transitioned somewhat more into family movies. And then she decided well, it's an interesting story. Because what Geena Davis, or why Geena Davis became a "Where have you been?" actor, is for a little bit more of an understandable reason than Orlando Jones not getting big movies anymore. It's because Geena Davis did not like the inequality of male and female roles in movies and TV, in everywhere.
Yeah.
She noticed significant trends, and for over 15 years now has been working entirely to help balance out the equality of roles for men and women in a charitable way, or for everybody.
Yeah.
She
Like
wants equality of roles for everybody. She noticed imbalance and went, I'm not going to act anymore. I'm going to dedicate my time entirely to doing this. And she has, in more recent years, done one or two little bits of comeback kind of things.
well, I watched Grey's Anatomy, so she was on a couple of seasons of that. And I think, probably what drew her to do Grey's Anatomy is because I know I know Shonda Rhimes to be a very kind of inclusive, a female, she's a female boss running all these
Yeah,
shows. If you watch Bridgerton, the variety of casting on that, it's kind of like a blind casting
yeah,
process. We're not really going for accuracy of the Regency era. We're just casting, all kinds of people in these roles. And Ellen Pompeo, who plays Meredith Grey, she is a huge advocate for, when I walk into on a set, I want the set to look like the world I live in. I want to see
yeah.
all different types of people behind the scenes doing the cameras, doing all different kinds of jobs on the set. I want to see, a set that I'm on look like the world I live in. So she's very much about equality and things like that, her and Shonda Rhimes. So I think, if she was going to come back to any kind of acting wise project, Grey's Anatomy would make the most sense. So
Well, it would have to be something like that because that is entirely what Geena Davis's whole thing is now.
yeah.
Her entire thing. And I mean, look at what is probably her biggest, most notable movie is Thelma and Louise. It
Yeah.
probably is her biggest and most notable movie. And look how just incredible that is as a female story.
And A League of Their
You-
Own as
And A
well.
League of Their Own. It is, she's always had this. She's always liked to go into this kind of territory. And all the better for it. It's clear to me that she's always thought like this, and it just came to a time where she decided basically enough was enough, and she herself needed to be more vocal, become more active in the space of helping
Yeah.
other people get their roles and creating that more inclusive, or creating those more inclusive sets and telling those stories that open different avenues up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at things like Thelma and Louise and A League of Their Own. and you know this, and knowing this about her, knowing this was the reason why, it's so clear, because those movies are incredibly kind of female power driven.
Yeah.
And great movies for that. Very unique movies for their time. In I think Thelma and Louise is 91 and A League of Their Own is 92. This is the time. This is coming off of the 80s macho nonsense all the time.
But even like a big kind of female-led action movie with The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Exactly.
Love that
movie. She's in The Fly. Yeah. Jeff Goldblum. She transitioned, like I said, in kind of the later 90s, the early 2000s, to family fare like Stuart Little.
Yeah.
Which tends to be what people do. So you might be thinking, oh, okay, Geena Davis turning a new page in her career. Maybe she's getting a little bit older. She might not be, the young hot thing anymore that Hollywood always likes. So she's going to try and shut all those people up and help everything become, able to, everybody able to work on anything they want to and anything they should, because I just think that's very commendable.
Yeah.
But also I would like to see Geena Davis in more movies now, because she's kind of great. I always like watching Geena Davis in movies.
Me too.
I really do think she's great. I would love to see her in big movies now, because I still think she could draw a crowd.
I agree.
I still think she's a big name.
Yeah, she's great.
She certainly has a very unique voice.
Yes.
She doesn't sound like anybody else, really, does she? She's very, very particular.
Yes. And definitely a commendable reason to step away from the spotlight.
Yeah.
In order to uplift other women in the industry. So
kind of totally different to the reason my other discussion person left the spotlight, as we will say, which is why I picked these two as kind of almost total opposite. Someone who did it entirely out of their own choice to help people, and I also have someone who literally did fall off. Like, you can't say it any more accurately. I think my other person literally just fell down one day, and nobody picked her back up yet.
Yeah.
Jeannine, who is your second actor?
Well, of course, I picked another person from that kind of 2000s, 99, 2003-ish era of time.
The Jeannine era.
Yes, because that's like when you saw this person all over the place, all the time, everything, everywhere, all at once, before you say it. And then they just kind of vanished. I mean, they popped back up only because they were kind of tied to a franchise. But then we never really saw much of them. And that is Chris Klein. Does anyone else remember who Chris Klein is?
Chris Klein, who is he Chris Klein, who is no one's favorite part of the American Pie movies.
Yes, he was Oz in the American Pie movies, but like his first big movie was Election with Reese Witherspoon and Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, okay.
And he was kind of playing this himbo character. And
seems appropriate, really.
Yes. So I feel like he's the type of actor who doesn't have any kind of a great range, but he could do the thing that he could do well. He could play like this likable kind of dummy, or he could play like the jock. Anything kind of more than that he really had to do, maybe was out of his range. So like the fact that he was doing a lot of things like that at the time, I think helped kind of keep him relevant. So obviously he did that movie Election. He did the American Pie movie. So he did the first two, and then he did the reunion one in 2012, which is kind of the last big thing he did. And
I always was confused as to why he wasn't in the third one.
Yes. Like, why wasn't he in American Wedding? Like, I went ahead and watched American Wedding, and I'm like, wait, He's not in this.
Why is he not in
This is
that?
not helping my research, but I
I've
guess I have to
never
watch it.
understood.
So then in a reunion he does, but also um, if you look at any promotional thing, American Wedding is called American Wedding, right?
Oh, not here. It's not. It is
Okay.
called American Pie 3: The Wedding.
Yes. The title pops up on the screen, that's what it says. But everywhere else here, it's called American Wedding.
Oh,
Yes.
American Reunion, I think, is called American Reunion,
Yes.
but an early legacy sequel. But
Yes.
it
Yeah, so like
is.
the last kind of big thing he did was um American Reunion, and he still looked really good.
He did, but he was
Yes.
look. He was just playing the same character. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Is that he's very good at playing that particular character, but you can only play that particular character in a certain small frame or small time frame before you actually get too old to play
Yeah,
high
but I
school
mean,
jocks anymore.
but apparently like he's had credits in The Flash.
Okay,
Um so like he's done
he's done
things.
things. He's done things.
Yeah.
Maybe he's still doing stuff to an Orlando Jones level, or maybe not even an Orlando
Which is
Jones
also
level.
kind of funny because in kind of just looking at both him and Orlando Jones' filmography, they were both in a Heather Graham vehicle called Say It Isn't So.
A Heather Graham vehicle.
Yes, they were both credited in that movie.
Jeannine, we could also
Um,
ask the question, where's Heather Graham?
yeah, I mean that is true. I
As
don't think
Heather
we've
Graham
seen
was
her
also huge in the
in that
mid
era
to
of
late
time as
90s
well.
to early 2000s and
Yes.
hasn't done anything since.
Yes. But yeah, Chris Klein, he had like a solid franchise under his belt. He was doing romantic films with who was my original pick, Lily Sobieski. I was going to talk about her because she kind of had a little boom of films at this time too, but I decided to go with Chris Klein. I mean, he was dating Katie Holmes at the time before the Tom
Was
Cruise
he?
stuff. Yeah.
I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Yes, he was dating Katie Holmes at the time. Um yeah, so he was kind of doing stuff, and then he did Rollerball, this weird kind of remake of like a 70s roller derby, kind of extreme roller derby type movie. I think James Caan is in the original version. So it's almost
Oh
like
my
a
god, I want to
like
watch
it's
that.
almost like Death Race to Death Race 2000 type situation with this movie, but
Yeah.
I put it on to try to watch it. It's him and Rebecca Romaine Stamos, as she was at the time, and LL Cool J, and yeah, it's just it was rough. It
Yeah,
was rough.
it's definitely the early 2000s with those three.
Yes, and it's like it's the era of like extreme sport. So like the
It's
opening is him.
definitely
It's the opening is him body surfing or not body boarding. Like you know,
bodyboarding, yeah.
I don't know what you would. Is that what you call that? Like
I
where
know what you mean.
you're skateboarding, but like with your body laying down.
Oh,
Like
it's skateboarding. No, I thought bodyboarding's like on the water. I don't know.
no,
The
yeah, like body surfing
skateboarding
is on the
lying
water.
down.
Yes, like you're lying on your back on a board and you're just like skateboarding, but with your body, and they're doing it
I've
like
got
on the
no
streets of
idea.
San Francisco,
That
going
sounds
down hills.
horrible.
Yes, and it's like this
That sounds
extreme.
so
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah. So there's a name for it, but don't ask me what.
That sounds
But yeah,
literally. Wait, hold on. You're on a skateboard lying down in San Francisco, where the
yes.
most hilly, steep city
Yes, and so you're
possible.
seeing these dudes, like, fly as they go over these hills and, like, trying to kick each other, like,
No,
like,
I'm
racing.
sorry.
Yeah.
That is just let's just kill ourselves, the movie.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
So that is the opening of Rollerball, and
Oh
then
my
LL Cool
god.
J recruits him to go to, Russia, I think it is, or I don't know, and play Rollerball for money, and yeah,
That is
it's
unbelievable.
I could not get into it. So I think that's kind of where he started falling off because he was trying to be like action star when he's really just kind
Yeah.
of lovable jock slash himbo is kind of his wheelhouse, and he tried to kind of branch out of that, and it didn't
He
quite
could come
work
back
for
now
him.
and play lovable dads. I
Yeah, I mean,
suppose.
he still has TV credits and smaller movie credits and things like that. So he's still, like, working.
Yeah,
Um, so but yeah, just kind of he had this weird boom in the early late '90s, early 2000s, and then just kinda never saw him again. So, yeah, props to Chris Klein. I hope he's doing well. It looks like he's currently on a show right now. So,
it's
yeah,
good.
good for him. He still looks good, and yeah, I don't know. I just was thinking about him like,
Well, this is what we like to see.
whatever happened to Chris Klein?
This is what we want to see because, as we said, this is this is not a we're glad these people have left. This is we want to see more of
Yeah,
them.
like, I rewatched Election, and he was really good in that, like, as this kind of lovable, kind of idiot kind of character.
Well, Jeannine, here is
Yeah.
the sad tale
Mhm, yes.
of my number one girl, Jeannine. Who am I the number one fan of in the world?
Amanda Bynes.
Amanda Bynes. Jeannine, we're all aware of why
Yes.
Amanda Bynes fell off. We're all aware of
Yeah.
why we don't see Amanda Bynes anymore. The question, where have you been, Amanda Bynes, is a question that we can all answer.
Yeah, she had a bit of a breakdown and, got a little crazy and reckless and, just lost her way a little bit, and, I think that happens when you're young and, you're under a lot of pressure, and she had been doing this and she was super young on all that, and kind of got thrown into it right away. And, I think that can really affect you in certain ways. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes that was really kind of,
Oh, exactly. I mean, that era of kind of because look, Amanda Bynes is I know it comes off as a joke sometimes that I say I'm Amanda Bynes' number one fan and all that stuff, but Amanda Bynes legitimately was great at what she did.
she was so talented. Like, I used to watch all that all the time, and to see how how great her timing was and how good she was at the comedy at such a young age was so impressive to me.
She was hilarious. She continued to be hilarious through her like sketch comedy career, The Amanda Show, and all that kind of stuff,
Amanda, Amanda, Amanda,
into
Amanda,
her
yes,
movies,
show. Yeah.
where she continued to be hilarious and just became bigger and bigger and bigger. Peaked around the mid 2000s, did a few things after then, was in Hairspray. Her final movie was Easy A
Easy A,
in
yeah.
2010, where she was a
She
significant
was so
supporting
good.
character,
Yeah, she was great.
and she was great in that. She was kind of horrible in that movie,
Which was
but she
great.
was great in it.
She played it really well.
She was consistent, consistently great and consistently hilarious. Fit her tone of movies absolutely perfectly, and in my opinion, had significantly more talent than all the Disney people. Because she was a Nickelodeon
Yeah.
girl, really. And yes, you bring up who knows what was going on behind the scenes. That era of Nickelodeon has become soured, really,
Yeah.
due to a pretty significant producer of a lot of those shows from around that time being not a particularly pleasant individual.
Yes.
Um, However, I still attest the shows themselves, we should not demean the shows themselves because there's many other people who worked on those shows who were great, and the shows themselves I think are great.
Yeah.
And I very much grew up with those shows, much more so than I did with Disney Channel shows, to be honest. So that's why I've always been drawn to Amanda Bynes. But perhaps that, though, those kind of things took their toll on her as well. I don't know how involved she may have been in any of that front. I would like to think she wasn't directly, affected, but
Yeah, that
simply
maybe there were just some
saw,
other things going on, and
yeah, simply saw other people be affected, and it kind of just messed with her and caused her in 2010, 11-ish to completely break down.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. And we've seen fairly recently, we've seen people like Lindsay Lohan obviously kind of had a little bit of a breakdown of her own, and she's been able to come back to some degree.
Yeah.
From that, she's done things. She's back. We celebrate her return, and she hasn't fallen off again, which is very positive, and gives me hope that Amanda Bynes still
could maybe come back. Yeah.
It has been over 10 years.
She was so very talented. So, yeah, I hope she does kind of find her way back to it.
This is what I mean.
If
it has been
that's what
over.
she wants.
Well, exactly. If that's what she wants, it has been over 10 years. And it just saddens me because I am such a fan of Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
I do genuinely think she has more talent than people like Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan was a good actor, but she wasn't anywhere near as funny as Amanda Bynes. She wasn't anywhere near as natural as Amanda Bynes. And I just think I would love nothing more than to just see Amanda Bynes on a huge name on some sort of ridiculous comedy movie again.
Yeah.
I would love it so much. Doing what she did back then, even if it's not as good, she could still do it. Well, I still like to think she could still do it.
If the rom-com can come back, she can come back to, her style of comedy films.
I think more importantly, though, I almost just want to hear news that she's doing okay.
Yeah.
I don't even need her to come back. We just don't hear anything about her.
No.
So, how is she okay?
Yeah, last I heard, she went to fashion school, and that was kind of the last thing I heard. She just was living with her parents, who I think are dentists or something. And yeah, I don't know.
Is she better? Because she really struggled with abuse, and with substance abuse and things like that. She really, really struggled. And it's horrible to go back and look at, because of how much I liked her when I was younger, but how much I still appreciate what she did now.
Yeah.
It's very sad, and it shouldn't be remotely joked about. It shouldn't be turned into some sort of comedic bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when I say I am Amanda Bynes' number one fan, look, I may not be Amanda Bynes' number one fan, but even that was a whole thing of Amanda Bynes, wasn't it? I'm your number one fan. That was a sketch she did. Remember that one? Yeah. I remember that one. I'm a massive fan. A massive fan of what Amanda Bynes was doing. We all know why she fell off. So where have they been may not be the most appropriate question, but when are you coming back? If you are coming back,
and
I think is a question. And are you okay? Yes, is a question we can ask.
Yeah.
And I hope the answers to those questions are positive ones.
Yes.
Amanda Bynes, I love you, basically.
Well, when she hears that, because of course she watches the show.
Amanda Bynes does watch the show.
I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
I know for a fact Amanda Bynes does watch our show.
Yes, of course.
Yes, Jeannine. Does that close out our Let's Talk, our main discussion for these Where Have They Been actors? In honour, of course, of Ke Huy Quan in Everything, Everywhere, all at once. Ke Huy Quan can do it. Why can't Amanda Bynes, Geena Davis, Orlando Jones, and even Chris Klein, who I think is
come back
probably the least able to get back to where he was.
Blockbuster movie together. Yeah.
I still do think Chris Klein is the least able to get back to where he was. Even Amanda Bynes, I think, is more inclined able at the moment
to have a big comeback in a huge movie or something.
Yeah, than Chris Klein, unless you did American Pie 30 years later.
I mean, it's possible.
Which is possible, and they're all grandparents just still trying to do nasty things with people. I don't know. I do like the American Pie movies, Jeannine. I do. I admit that freely.
I do too. Because I recently watched them again just to kind of revisit Chris Klein at his peak.
Chris Klein does do a very nice cover of How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You.
Yeah.
In American Pie.
In magic.
Actually, which I've always liked as well.
Scooby Dooby 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 Dooby
It's terrible, but it's great. I love it. Oh dear. Well, Jeannine, is it time to close out our show with some fun and games?
I think so.
Well, what do we have in store in the fun and games today?
Well, we're talking these where have they been actors. So we're gonna have some fun little riddles.
Riddles?
Yes, we're gonna give each other riddles based either the answer will be a what happened to them actor or they'll be connected to a what happened to them actor. In our riddle, and you have to figure out who we're talking about.
All of my answers actually are what happened to them actors.
Okay, mine are as well. So
well, that's perfect then, isn't it?
Okay.
Really. Yes, riddles. So sometimes we've done the trivia. I think we started with a 6 degrees game.
Yeah.
We've done trivia. We've done Easter egg things last week when we were talking Pixar. We did those final lines things. We always try and think of something fun for our fun and games, as that is the title of the segment, Fun and Games. There's no point having a game, Jeannine, if it isn't fun.
Exactly.
That would be a boring game, and nobody likes boring games. What's a boring game? I'll name a boring game. No, I can't name a boring game now. What's a boring game? Someone tell me a boring game. Don't say chess, because I like chess.
I was thinking that, but I was like, Morgan likes chess.
There's no boring games.
I got into chess for a hot minute. I was actually into chess, but now I have no memory of how to play.
There's no boring games. Boring games don't exist. This game certainly is not boring. We were testing out some riddles yesterday, and Jeannine told me to tone mine down. They were too difficult.
Morgan's riddles were ridiculous. Like, I played the guy who was the cousin of the brother of the sister who was twice removed from the guy who played the sister of
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that.
Your riddles were totally that.
But I have formatted all my riddles in similar ways.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So I think we have 3 each, Jeannine. Who's in the lead? We have to keep a note of who's in the lead.
I was in the lead.
Oh, yeah, because you won last week. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's 2-1-1 because we had a tie, so it's 2-1-1.
Yes.
There was one tie, so I've got to win this week. I've got to win this week to get my second win.
All right.
Who's going first, Jeannine? 3 each. Who's going first?
Okay, I'll go first.
You go first.
You read your riddle to me, and I'll.
Okay. Okay.
Better not first some crazy thing.
It is not some crazy thing. I promise you.
Okay.
Riddle number 1.
Okay.
For some reason, some people preferred me over my far more romantic supernatural rival. I guess telling him that I was destined to be with his young daughter didn't help. Who am I?
Taylor Lautner?
I am Taylor Lautner. Yes. Well done, Jeannine. Applause.
Oh, thank you. When you just, found my heart with the Twilight there.
I did, yes. I made it entirely Twilight focused.
Thank you. Okay, my riddle for you. In real life, I was scorned for something more divine. But on screen, I had devilish fun with a white ape. Who am I?
A white ape?
Yes.
Oh, God, see, your riddles are difficult. I'm not going to win this. I've been too nice with my riddles now. I should also ask the question, what happened to Taylor Lautner? Where is he?
He's actually engaged to a girl named Taylor.
Oh, for God's sake. Of course he is. Could you say your riddle again? Could you repeat the riddle?
Okay. In real life, I was scorned for something more divine. But on screen, I had devilish fun with a white ape.
Scorned for something more divine. So it's someone's... So the public don't like this individual's religious practices. But in a movie, they had devilish fun with a white ape. I'm trying to think of a white ape. A white ape. Right, no, I'm not thinking of a white ape. Am I thinking of a white ape, or am I now just thinking... Because I can't think of one. So am I now just thinking of someone whose religious practices have them scorned in the
you're
public?
overthinking it. You're overthinking it.
I'm overthinking it.
This was somebody who had a real life scandal.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. Someone whose religious practices in real...
Nothing religious.
Oh, but you said divine, so I immediately went religious.
Yes.
Say it again. No, this is going to take so long. I apologize. I will just... If I can't get it, I will just say it. I can't get it.
In real life, I was scorned for something more divine. But on screen, I had devilish fun with a white ape.
I really have no idea. I really have no idea.
No? You give up?
No.
It's Elizabeth Hurley.
Elizabeth Hurley.
Hugh Grant
Explain.
had that whole debacle with a prostitute named Divine Brown.
Oh, I don't know what the prostitute's name was.
That should have been like big UK gossip news.
How the hell was I supposed to know what her name was?
That.
I didn't know that was her name.
Yes. And devilish fun.
Yes, that's bedazzled.
Yes, and the white ape is Brendan Fraser because he was a white ape in George of the Jungle.
Oh, God. See, you've taken a leaf out of my book from the examples we were doing yesterday. Oh, God, I've lost already, haven't I?
No, you're good. You still got 2 more chances.
Jeannine, your second riddle.
Okay.
As a child, I was unstoppable, but once I stopped seeing ghosts, no one seemed to care much for me anymore. Except Jude Law once, I guess. Who am I?
Haley Joel Osment.
I am Haley Joel Osment. See, you're very good at these now. Mine aren't difficult enough. I should have done the format from yesterday and really confused you.
Yes, that was very confusing what you were doing before. Okay, your second riddle. I played husband to a friend, but couldn't make the grade. And while more recently I dabble in smaller films, you can catch me falling to pieces in something cinematic. Who am I?
A husband to a friend. Husband to a friend, right, okay. Tell me the second part.
But I couldn't make the grade.
Couldn't make the grade. Couldn't make the grade. Go again. Go more.
And while more recently I dabble in smaller films, you can catch me falling to pieces in something cinematic.
Falling to pieces. Falling to pieces. Husband to a friend. I'm now just thinking of someone who played someone's husband on Friends, and I can't get Paul Rudd out of my mind. So Paul Rudd.
That is incorrect.
Yeah. Go on.
It is Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church.
He was Lisa Kudrow's husband in Easy A, so he couldn't make the grade because she cheated on him. Grade Easy A.
See, your riddles are actual riddles. Mine aren't
and
now.
You can see him falling to pieces in Spider-Man. Something cinematic.
Yes,
MCU.
you can.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
I really thought you would get that one because I'm like, we're talking about Easy A too much. He's gonna figure out my riddle.
I've been too direct with mine. I'm so disappointed that I haven't done what I was doing yesterday.
Like we literally go, and you thought mine were too easy, so you were like, make yours a little bit harder and make yours a little bit not as complicated.
I have flat out lost.
I was really proud of that one, but I thought that's going to be the easiest one for him.
I have flat out lost.
Okay. Last one for me.
Last one for you. The world really wanted me to be a huge star. They even changed the colour of my skin. Wait, am I coming back this year? Is it finally happening? Who am I?
Is it Sam Worthington?
It is Sam Worthington.
Wait, am I coming back this year? That's great.
It is Sam Worthington. Well done, Jeannine. Well done. Significantly, you've smacked it out of the park, and I've struck out clearly.
Well, I think you'll get this one.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
I fought aliens, vampires, sins, and shapes, and my cowlick rivals that of a certain little rascal. Who am I?
Cowlick? Say it slower.
I've fought aliens, vampires, sins, and shapes. And
right, finish there. Don't say anything else. Okay. I've fought aliens, vampires, sins, and shapes, like triangles, or shapeshifters, presumably. Sins, aliens. Right, say more.
And my cowlick rivals that of a certain little rascal. Who am I?
A certain little rascal?
Yes.
Little rascal? Dennis the Menace? Little rascal? I've got no idea. Cowlick? I presume you mean that thing Superman has?
What? You don't know what a cowlick is?
What's a cowlick?
Seriously?
What's a cowlick?
I think we're just getting lost in translation.
I think we really are here.
The little rascal I'm referring to is alfalfa. That thing, that hair that sticks out in the back of alfalfa. Do you know the character of alfalfa from the Little Rascals?
I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
You've never heard of the Little Rascals?
I have not got the first clue.
You've never heard of the Little Rascals?
I have not got the first clue of what you're talking about.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Why did you make yours so difficult?
I did, everybody, because I assume everyone has some concept of the Little Rascals. They were even around in black and white movie times working.
This is an American thing.
Can't believe you don't know who our gang is. The Little Rascals. You've never even seen the movie with alfalfa and buckwheat and and the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
I've heard buckwheat. Have I heard buckwheat?
A cowlick is the piece of hair that like sticks out in the back.
Right, so someone has that, and it's someone who has fought. I mean, it could be. Yeah, I'm not gonna have a clue.
We pretty much joke about this all the time. About the hair thing.
Say it again.
Morgan. I fought aliens, vampires, sins, and shapes, and my cowlick rivals that of a certain little rascal.
Someone whose hair sticks out. Josh Hartnett.
Yes!
Yes! Success.
I always laugh at every movie because that stupid piece of hair.
Oh my
that just
God.
sticks out. He fought aliens in what's that movie called?
What movie? I don't know. I just
We
thought
did
hair stick out and immediately just went to Josh. I didn't even
with
think
that
about the
movie
first
with
part.
Elijah Wood and why again am I blanking on that movie? We did a
You're
watch
talking
along
about
of it.
such little movies, Jeannine, that mean very little to me. I have no concept.
Morgan.
Yes.
Morgan.
What?
How do you not know anything about anything?
I do.
No, you don't. The
I do.
Faculty. The
Oh, the
Faculty.
Faculty.
Yes, he fought aliens in the Faculty. He was in Sin City.
Yes.
He was in 30 Days of Night, which was a vampire movie. And he was in Halloween H2O, so The Shape. Michael Myers is The Shape.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
And he has that stupid hair sticking out like Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. I just assumed you at least had a concept of who the Little Rascals were.
I'm afraid not. Jeannine.
Sigh.
You were incredibly
all the sighs.
Incredibly difficult with your riddles, and I was far too easy. Far too easy on you.
Well, you said mine were too easy, so you told me like.
Let's read one of the ones out from yesterday, shall we?
Okay.
Let's just as a treat, just to prove to everybody that
you're so much more clever than you showed yourself to be today.
Exactly. That I was, yes.
Okay.
An ancient lizard once only left my co-star's arm behind. I hope it was holding a purple lightsaber. We really did butcher that one job our boss gave us, and I ended up shooting our inside guy in the head. I can't remember the name of the guy who played my husband that one time I was in drag, but he did once play a Batman villain. Do you remember his name? The answer to that is Christopher Walken.
See,
I'll
but
let you figure it out.
See, but the whole time you're talking like you're gonna ask me about John Travolta.
Yeah, I am, yes.
But then in the end,
John
you're expecting
Travolta is
Christopher
the speaker
Walken
of the
as the
riddle.
answer. Yes. See, that is like so like outside of itself.
So I could have just been like that and but no, I felt like being a little bit more straightforward, and it bit me.
I just asked you to tone it down a little bit, and I was giving you ones that you were saying too easy. So then I tried to like make mine a little more creative. I really thought you'd get that easy A clues though.
I don't. You know what I'm like with people's names and people's faces.
But you love easy
I'm not
A
good.
so much.
I do like easy.
So I thought if you were gonna get any of them, it would have been that one.
Well, yeah, but when you said husband of a friend, I did think Friends, okay, but then who played a husband on Friends is what I then thought of. And then like pieces in something cinematic, I thought, well, Paul Rudd doesn't do small movies, does he? But he does fall into pieces. He gets smaller.
So does Thomas Hayden Church because he's Sandman.
Thomas Hayden Church. Sandman was useless. I virtually forgot Sandman was even in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Exactly. Why? It's just kind of like, oh, I might do smaller things, but I popped up in something cinematic.
And I don't think he even did he? I think that was repurposed footage.
It was repurposed footage, but he did voice stuff. I think so did Reese Ifans. They just kind of lent extra voice work, but they did not actually physically appear in the movie.
Well, I've lost again the game. How have I lost this game again?
Sigh. All the sighs.
I really need to stage a significant comeback in the next few weeks, Jeannine.
Well, you better be the one to come up with the game, something that'll help you out. That'll be forever.
I came up with this game.
But you.
Oh dear. Well,
I'm sorry.
Well,
so
Jeannine.
now, before we end the show, I'm gonna tell you, go watch The Little Rascals.
I don't want to now. I really don't want to. I got one right, and it was just on the stupid hair. After clues.
I'm like, we joke about his stupid hair all the time.
After clues. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, Jeannine, here we are after another successful episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. We've enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah.
It's been a fun one. It is not the only show we have on It's a Wonderful Podcast, and it is not the only thing we do on this YouTube channel if you are watching, is it, Jeannine?
It is not. Yesterday we had a fun discussion about the new season of Stranger Things. So
we did.
We do fun stuff like that here on the YouTubes. But on Wednesday on the podcast feed, we also have Morgan Hasn't Seen, where I force you to watch things that you haven't seen. This
including most of the movies you've just talked about in the riddle.
Essentially, yes. So more series ideas to come with that. But we're talking courtroom movies.
Yes, we are at the current present.
Yes, we talked a drama last week to kick off the series with A Time to Kill. We are now talking Primal Fear this week. So we're getting into some kind of
no, Jeannine, do you not have your weeks confused?
Do I have my weeks confused?
You have your weeks confused. This week's episode is A Time to Kill. It is the first week of July.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yes. Recording's fun. Backlogging recording's fun.
Yes.
As
we try to get ahead of ourselves. So,
Well, there's the first two episodes anyway. Yes, it is A Time to Kill and Primal Fear.
Yes. Okay, how about you just handle the plugs? You just go for it. I already screwed that up. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Morgan Hasn't Seen is there on a Wednesday. We do have the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, every Friday as well, celebrating old movies, showcasing them, discovering new ones. Last week, Jeannine, we were on talking No Way Out with Sidney Poitier and Richard Widmark, which was an intense movie and a great movie from 1950. Wonderful. Always on It's a Wonderful Podcast. It's always a fun time there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the podcast feed. And like Jeannine said before, we did a Stranger Things full spoiler discussion of volume 2, season 4. Well, all of season 4, really, I suppose, now that it's actually finished. We did talk about yesterday in a big live discussion on the YouTube channel. We also do watch-alongs here, as well as that, as well as other fun videos as well that you can find. Subscribe here, ding your notification bells on the YouTube channel, and find the podcast feed. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, of course, everywhere. Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Amazon Music, everywhere else. Find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One, as you can see at the bottom if you are watching. We also have the Patreon. It's a Wonderful Podcast on Patreon if you would like to support us over there. We also have a donation link in the description if you would like to support us in that way. You can also see that at the bottom if you are watching. Like I said, find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. I am on Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at just the Purple Dawn. All your ridiculously riddlish stuff is where?
Well, let's see if I don't screw this up too. You can find me on Twitter at Jeannine Devine _ Jeannine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find it at our brand new Teespring shop. It's a Wonderful Podcast on Teespring. We have all our favorite designs there for all of the shows, including Monday Madness. I've added some Stranger Things designs as well. You know, my favorite season 2 Stranger Things / 80s crossover designs. You can get those over there as well. Check it out.
There we go. Jeannine, I like your monster truck rally impression. I would like you to count down in that way, please.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.